if I asked you what your perfect day was, and tomorrow you could start living your perfect day, I bet you wouldn't fucking have an answer. I was in the same spot on October 31st of 2018. I was working for a company and I didn't want to do that anymore. And 13 months and 2 weeks later, I quit my job and now work for myself. And through that process, what I've been able to learn and what I've been able to do to grow so that I understand what my perfect day is. And we're going to talk about that. But first, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to frickin' see you. All right, so let's get started. I was laying in bed, and this was October 31st. I had just started at a new job. As you can see, I actually was working at a bank, and I was trying to understand what I wanted to do, right? And I'm laying there, and the things that were happening, I just was like, I don't want to deal with this. This is not something that I find super enjoyable. But what do I want to do? Because that's going to be way more powerful than focusing on what I don't want to do. And I didn't have an answer, but I was like, well, I want something that's going to give me the freedom to travel wherever I want to go. So I decided then on October 31st that that's what I was going to do. And then 13 months and 11 days later, I made this video here, and there was 3 days left of work. Throughout that process, not only did I learn tremendously about more what it takes to actually do whatever you want to do, but more importantly, I learned what goes on up here mentally. And that so many people are just, this is the area that is people are struggling with. So 3 days after this, I actually went up to Rochester, New York, and this is how I went. I went from Massachusetts over here in Leominster to Rochester, New York. This is some work that I did out there, and I'm searching for that answer of like, what is my perfect day, right? So I'm just trying all sorts of different stuff, but at the same time, I don't have a steady paycheck coming in anymore. So I'm thinking like, oh, I need to generate money. I need to generate money. I need to generate money. And that's constantly on my mind. It's like, how do I get some more money? So this is a job that I did in Rochester. But I also did some other things. On my way from Rochester to Ohio, what I actually ended up doing was selling. So this is on my way over here. I ended up selling some watches that I had that I didn't have any desire. I hadn't worn any of them in a couple of years. And I ended up selling these in Ohio. So I got an Airbnb, posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and sold these out there. But I was doing many of other things along that way. After I went from Ohio to Virginia, and then bear with me because I'm going to get into how I actually design my perfect day. I went over to Sterling, Virginia, and let's see if I had any pictures. Oh, I sold a lot. This is actually after Virginia. I didn't sell anything there, but I stopped there for a period of time, and then went down to Fort Mill, South Carolina. So that's where I currently am, and this is a picture of something that I sold. Sold this, sold this, sold this, sold. There's a bunch of washers and dryers. A lot of times people give away shit for free, like this tractor here, which turned around and sold it for $600. Or this car here, somebody else didn't want to sell their car, but they wanted to get rid of it, and they wanted a certain amount of money. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take a $500 fee to do that for you, right? And you just got to think about what you need to do to get the money done, and you need to do whatever the fuck you need to do, right? As I got down to South Carolina and I started focusing more on other things, I started a business in real estate because I love real estate. It's been something I've always been interested in. I own a rental property in Florida, but I wanted to go all in on something. So I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And I had a business partner on that. This was actually a wholesaling business. So this is the first contract that we got after about a week of starting the business. As you can see, this is the property. It was around $45,000, I believe. And this is right at the end of February 2019. So I've gone through, I've quit, and now I'm traveling around trying to understand what that perfect day is and exactly where I want to just dump all of my passion and energy into, right? So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. So I started doing this every single day. Got a contract within a short period of time, right at the end of February. And then coronavirus and shutting down the world happens. So not only did we get this and to outlay some other things, because I had a business partner on this, there was we weren't able to flip this contract, and a lot of things dried up. So I was like, okay, as this is happening, I'm also understanding some of the things that I'm doing every day, and that having a business partner wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do at this time. So I decided to not have a business partner. I had a conversation. I was like, hey, bro, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not what I want to do, and shut this business down. Transitioned to let him have all the leads and do whatever he wanted to do if he wanted to continue doing that. But I wanted to focus on something where I wasn't going to be tied to any one geographic location. Yet I know that you can do virtual wholesaling, but I don't want to do something like that. I'd rather do something else. And that is when I focused on affiliate marketing. So that's the money side of things, right? And for the first month of June, this June is coming up. An earnings report is going to be coming out shortly. So make sure you press that subscribe button. I'll tell you exactly how I make my money and where it comes from and how much and everything. But I just broke $1,000, right? This is online, so this way I don't have to be tied to any one geographic location. Well, Sam, get to your dream day. Okay, so through this process, something that I've been doing every day is journaling. So as I'm going through to generate the money, I'm also understanding more about myself. Remember how I said this is so important? Well, anytime that you have a story that you tell yourself, it doesn't matter what that story is. If that story doesn't suit you, right? If you think money's hard to come by, if you think that work is just something, excuse me, something that you do between the weekends, understand why, because you're not doing something you love, but why aren't you doing that, right? What is it that you love? And understanding what I started to do was understand the emotions that I would like to experience every day. Do I want to experience judgment or hate every day? No, right? Like I think experiencing passion and abundance and intensity and focus and progress and love and caringness, these are all things that I would like, right? And emotions during my day. So this is why I didn't lead out with this, because this is way more heady than some of the people would. I wanted to put this at the back half of the video. And if you want those emotions, right, literally how I go through and do it. So if you want more money, right, or abundance, how do you create that in your life? Well, because the semantics of the day, you're not going to necessarily pick and choose every single thing that happens throughout the day. But what you can do is choose how you feel. So because you have control over how you feel, and you know that you want these 7 different emotions, right? Primary emotions to have it. You want to feel those throughout the day. And you can change those by changing what you do. So to have more, let's say, abundance. So going through and understanding, writing it down in the journal, what are the top 10 things that I feel when I felt abundant, there was abundance in my life, what was happening in that context, right? And then you write all those down to understand why you felt like there was an abundant time in your life when that thing or situation happened. And then passion. What 10 times during your life did you feel passionate with what you were doing? And write those down to understand the context of the situation of what was the essence of what you were doing. Was because for me, to feel passion, that just means to go all in and be present in what I'm doing, right? When I'm talking to somebody, I'm trying to provide as much value as possible. That's to me is going to be passion. When I'm doing this video, I'm trying to provide the best possible piece of content that I can. And going all in on it, that to me is passion. So understanding what these words mean to you to tell yourself that you were passionate in this situation, and you do this for each one of those, right? If you guys have questions, leave them down below. Jump over to Instagram if you want help. I'm happy to help out. But you follow this process. I do coaching too if you guys are interested in coaching. But Follow this process to understand those emotions that you want and the associated times in your past when you felt those. And then start implementing those into your day to understand how to bring more passion into what you're doing, right? If your definition was going all into something, then go all into something today, right? If you want more love and caring in your life, then bring more of that into your life by showing more love and caringness for other people or things around you, right? If you want to feel more grateful, then start appreciating more things in your life. And it sounds so incredibly simple, and yet nobody does it. If you want more money in your life, go through and focus on your money. If you want more of anything in your life, go through and focus on it. So right now I'm working on the money portion of it. I'm going to be documenting my process here on YouTube. So make sure you press that subscribe button and that bell notification so YouTube will notify you. You can learn from what I'm doing. I'm 100% transparent about what I'm going to be doing. So now I've done this in other areas of my life, but I've never applied this to the money portion of things. And I know how it works because I've watched it play out many times. So now I'm applying that to the money portion of things to see how quickly I can get that to grow. And this is going to be a fun journey as I go through, because just like you did with the other things that you want to bring more into your life, understanding the stories you tell yourself around why you feel the way. So you just understand the positive things you want to be doing every day. Now, when you have a moment in time during your day where you made the decision to feel a certain way, whether it was frustrated or angry or upset, recognize that, and then the next day or later that day, probably the next day, journal about that, right? So whatever, hey, conversation with a girlfriend, situation at work with a customer, blah, 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 whatever it is, write that down and understand that taking full responsibility is the only way to succeed, and that you got to decide and understand why you chose to respond that way. The situation didn't make you respond that way. You chose to respond that way, period. I think it was Al Frankel, who was captured in the Nazi war camps, said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. How well you recognize that space is going to be how successful you can be. Because when you think that something happens to you and then it's automatic, that is a false narrative that you're telling yourself, and is not accurate. You can choose to respond however you want to respond for something. And if you are coming out angry or frustrated because of a situation at work, recognize that you can choose to use that as an opportunity to learn, but you're actually choosing it to be frustrated and angry. Which of those emotions would you rather have in your life? And then making that decision. So you've got like the macro ones of what you want to bring more in there. And then when you go throughout your day and shit fucking happens and you chose to respond in another way, recognize how you chose to respond, take that and learn from it so that you, next time that happens, understand that you're not going to make the same decisions. Because if you made the same decision, then that is what's going to happen, right? If you make the same decision that you made choosing to be frustrated, is that the emotion you want in your life? And if you said no, then you're not going to make the same. If the same circumstance comes up where you can choose to be frustrated based on whatever you're telling yourself, and that's not what you want, you're not going to make the same fucking decision, right? It's pretty simple. If you guys have any questions, jump over to Instagram, say what's good. If you want to follow along with the money piece and with more of what we're talking about here, make sure you press that subscribe button. Share this video with somebody else. If you got value out of this video, that's the other thing in life. You got to be able to bring value to those people around you to be able to achieve anything that you want in life. The more value you can bring into the marketplace, the more money you can get. The more value you can bring into other places in life, the more deep relationships you can build with people. And if you got any value out of this video and you can think of 1 or 2 or 3 people, even if it's just one person who needs to hear that message, share this video with them, because then you're starting that process of giving value to other people is what you need to do. You're going to share that video with them because you know that that's the message that they need to hear at that moment to get value and move forward, right? And that's the step in the process of you growing. Obviously, it helps out the channel. That has nothing to do with the overarching theme of it, right? Don't share it. Just go tell somebody the message then if you don't want to share the video. But with that being said, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell notification so YouTube notifies you next time I post a video. Peace.